Hello all, welcome to Video Game Safari. I'm your host, MaximumHR, and boy do I have a doozy for you. You see, some of you more observant folk might have noticed something about my content, that being, there is some. And moreover, it's recorded by me and not by Connor. That is, in fact, due to my acquiring a graphics card, a mythical device that allows the user to, get this, play games. So, after an amicable parting of ways between myself and the previous GPU-less PC, I decided to try my hand at Blizzard's brand new title into the Overwatch franchise, Overwatch 2. Now, I'm not a massive Overwatch player. I played the original sporadically on the PS4 back in its heyday, and I was a pretty big Genji main for the sole fact that he kinda looked cool, and I was of the mindset that the greatest anime around was Sword Art Online and Naruto. But far be it from me to claim I'm any kind of expert on the game, or anything about it. Overwatch was simply a massive game that enjoyed its prime and gracefully retired, making way for a brand new gaming experience, Overwatch 2. Now, Overwatch 2 is nothing like the original. Instead of fast-paced 6v6 hero shooting action, it's fast-paced 5v5 hero shooting action. Doomfist has been promoted from DPS to a tank, there's a couple of new heroes, Bastion is gone for now, as well as the original loot box monetization in lieu of a battle pass, which we'll be coming back to. And yeah, that's it. So okay, we all know by now, it's not really a new game, not yet at least. More so, Overwatch 2 is a redesign, an update, an overhaul perhaps of the existing and perfectly fine Overwatch 1. While some of the changes are fair enough, they've also certainly caused some backlash. For a brief history, Overwatch original released in May of 2016 and drew a lot of inspiration from games such as TF2. And its unique heroes, expansive lore, and colourful animated cinematics all helped it climb the rungs of popularity and earning a place solidly in gaming history. Overwatch 1 was a smash hit, earning approximately $1 billion in its first year of release, selling around 50 million copies in total as of October 2022. The release month of Overwatch 2, a substantial effort undeniably, so when Overwatch 2 was announced, you can be sure people's expectations were high and their skepticism also, with fans growing more and more wary of the production as more details were unveiled and Blizzard Activision's sordid past came to light amidst a slew of controversy, which I won't be touching on today. Now, as a final disclaimer before we embark on the actual Safari in quotes section of the video, a couple of disclaimers, the important being, this is not an objective review of quality of Overwatch 2. I feel I'm not qualified to give my thoughts on a genre I really only have a passing interest in, and so I won't be doing such. Maybe I'll do some reviews of games later on, but as of now, that's not really what I'm interested in doing here. As well, I think it's important to recognize that as of right now, the full game has yet to be properly released, as the PvE mode is not yet available. I've made the personal decision to assess these two as separate games, both for the sake of my own clarity and convenience, and this is a choice I know I'll probably receive backlash for. However, I've personally find that I have vastly different experiences from these type of games, PvP MMO shooters versus PvE Horde Slayers, which is, from what I can gather, the direction of Overwatch 2's PvE mode, releasing early 2023. But with that out of the way, jump in and let's get to exploring Overwatch 2's jungle. The very first thing I noticed about Overwatch 2 was, paradoxically, how much I didn't notice, or rather, how little the game had actually changed from its predecessor. Characters come loaded with new skins to accommodate the changes in the world during the time jump between the titles, a nice touch of lore for those who care about that sort of thing. However, all your favourite heroes are still here and available right from the get-go. Kind of. You see, a part of Overwatch 2's major controversial launch is its roster of characters, or rather, the fact that the entire roster is not available right away. Players will have to grind through levels, completing daily, weekly, and seasonal challenges, earning XP, and completing in-game tasks to unlock heroes, a change from the original many fans are none too pleased about. From one perspective, it makes sense. The developers need something to incentivize players to continue playing the game early on, so they're hooked in. From a business standpoint, it's brilliant. However, from a counter perspective, fans who have devoted hours to the game were frustrated to hear that their mains were locked behind progression wall and are grinding through what was deemed an inferior game on release. It is fair to point out that Blizzard Activision have addressed this and similar issues with the advent of account merging, allowing high-level accounts to merge with lower-level ones to become one single account, allowing players to keep all their goods acquired on different platforms onto one account, and most importantly, allowing them to keep their levels, bypassing the progression drama. This still leaves new players frustrated that they can't immediately play their favourite characters early on, however. Overwatch is far from the only game to have this style of character unlocking progression, though, which is great, but, you know, what are you gonna do? It's frustrating to have to learn how to play the character you actually want to play potentially hours into the game though. For example, by the time you unlock someone like Baptiste or Brigitte, you're most likely so used to playing a character like Moira or Lucio that those two are just completely non-viable for a fair while. At least such is my experience, which while occasionally frustrating, it's not really the fault of the game and more a feature of the genre, and that I can accept, while acknowledging the potential frustrations. Speaking of characters, a noticeable change is the lack of a sixth party member. There are plenty of pros and cons to this, however I can only speak to my experience, and personally, it's a mixed bag decision to remove the sixth. In lieu of a second tank, all tanks' characters received a buff to make them stronger, and more durable to offset the lack of a second big target. On the one hand, it leaves less chaos on the screen to deal with, and let's face it, being ganked by a Winston and an Orisa while trapped in a corner as Genji was never anyone's idea of a fun time. However, in saying that, it's a massive hit to the team dynamic. Having a stronger tank is all well and fine, but there's no amount of buffs that can account for the absence of another player character and their unique playstyle and inputs, which can be the deciding factor of a game. If my team strategy involves a two-pronged assault, the group with the tank is going to be a bigger target, but also have a much easier time assaulting the enemy than the duo or the trio without. Whilst very minute in the long run, it was a change that I felt disappointed by, and it's something I personally feel has taken away something from the game without really providing an adequate substitute. And that brings us to the biggest obvious change, the Battle Pass.
That shit look like the Battle Pass.
Overwatch 1 was notorious for its loot box based economy / grinding system, a system where players were awarded random loot for winning games and completing challenges, and honestly it just kind of boiled down to gambling once you added in the fact that you could spend money, and were all but encouraged to spend real money on in-game currency to purchase said loot boxes so you can have a chance at obtaining some loot that you actually wanted, like a rare skin or an emote. This is what we in the LGBTQIA community refer to as fucked up and gay and... But in all seriousness, the loot boxes were bad and I'm glad they're gone, but in their stead players were presented with a familiar battle pass system, such as games like Valorant or even Fortnite. While I do commend the effort to overhaul the original poor and frankly addictive gameplay incentive, I can't help but feel largely underwhelmed by this first battle pass. Hopefully this is something that the game will address in the future, but as of yet, the skin selection, which is the reason most people would bother with a paid battle pass at all, is fairly barren amidst lackluster voice lines and barely noticeable cosmetics. Despite some standouts, there's really not a lot on offer here, and there isn't any way to unlock in-game currency outside the battle pass too, or even through the battle pass. So in order to purchase future passes or even in-game shop items, players without merged accounts must by necessity fork out real money to engage in the Overwatch 2 marketplace. This is excusable once, but after this season I really hope this trend doesn't continue, because all it serves to do is frustrate long-standing and new players alike who don't want to or can't afford to fork out realistically at least $20 in order to unlock skins and items. This wouldn't be as much of an issue if it weren't for the fact that new heroes are also locked behind the battle pass on initial release. Overwatch is a game that's main appeal is the heroes, the unique selection and combination of such to complete objectives and exploring new playstyles. In my own experience with similar games, locking heroes behind a paywall only serves to put players on the back foot and give those more economically comfortable even more of an advantage over their competitors, not to get all anti-capital here. Now these characters have been said to be available later on outside the battle pass through the same character unlock progression as the other heroes. However, the point still stands that it's an unfair advantage to start off with, and critically for me, it's just not fun to play against. Granted, I bought the battle pass myself, mostly so I could experience Overwatch 2 to its fullest intended extent on release, and in my humble opinion, the new hero Kiriko is fine enough for a support character, not necessarily broken, but as more heroes are released through the Battle Pass unlock method, Blizzard Activision faces a choice to either service up broken characters that provide an unfair advantage locked behind a progression-based paywall, or heroes that are so garbage it's not even worth unlocking them. That, or implement new heroes into the regular character progression upon their release, leaving the Battle Pass for cosmetic upgrades and rare items, which the Overwatch community seems all but fine with, based off the last game. I will say it is nice that they have removed the gambling aspect of loot boxes, so at least if you want to buy Battle Pass tiers, you know exactly what you're buying. I just wish the content was better and a little more balanced. I now want to briefly touch on the new selection of game modes and maps, what there are at least. In the main game after the tutorial, open and roll queue matchmaking enters players into one of 4 game modes: Control, where players fight to capture an objective or an area; Escort, where players fight to either push or hold a payload; Hybrid, a combination of the prior 2 game modes; and Push, where players fight over a large robot who pushes the objective towards the enemy base. You'll begin to see here that these game modes are not dissimilar. In fact, it's quite possibly my biggest grievance with Overwatch 2, the lack of new content and unique game modes. In 3 out of these 4 game modes, players are pushing something towards the enemy base, which is all well and fine until you play your 3rd Overwatch match of the day, after waiting 5 minutes in queue timers, realize you've been doing the same thing over and over, and think to yourself, shit, I could have been playing so much Genji Ball right now. In fact, I have to applaud the game's custom modes of all things. Barring the absence of classic fan favourite Lucio Ball, Overwatch 2's custom game modes are loads of fun, and mark the best the game has to offer for me personally. Game modes such as Genji Parkour, the aforementioned Genji Ball, 20 kids vs 1 adult, the Super Smash Bros mode of all things, and many more add so much party-like fun to the mix I almost forget there's a whole other game I'm supposed to be playing until I'm kicked out of the arena and the screen tells me a game has been found.
And there was much rejoicing.
If you can't tell, I'm loving Genji Ball right now, and yeah, you could say I'm pretty good at it.
Enjoy your Genji Ball.
But as with the Battle Pass, Overwatch 2 potential once again outshines the end result, and I'm left wishing we had more content. I'm no game designer, I don't know what other modes to add in, however I also feel I'm not alone in my frustration, and it's a fairly reductive take to just shrug and go, ah well, I don't know the answer personally, so there mustn't be one, let's just leave it the way it is. If there's something lacking in your art, it's fair, good even, to criticize it, or at least address it. You don't get Elden Ring without someone complaining that Blighttown in Dark Souls was beyond fucked. And I think that's my main issue with Overwatch 2. It has so much potential, but a lot of that potential is just content that was taken out from the original. The 6-player, unique game modes, interesting loot and incentive to keep playing. All of my grievances I'm positive will be addressed and fixed or updated by the time the PvE is released, I have no doubt. In a month or so I'll look back and think, God, what was I thinking in this video? But despite everything I have to say as a beginner's foray into Overwatch, I love this game. I can't say I don't have a lot of fun, despite how clearly awful I am at it. Who knows, maybe I'll even have improved by the time the PvE drops. When it does, I'll be sure to venture back into the jungle, but for now, that's enough Overwatch, and it's time to head back to civilization. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed Video Game Safari Episode 1. If you'd like to see more, let me know in the comments section below, because this was a bit of a long one, but it was pretty fun to make, to be honest. If you have a game you'd like to see me share my experience in, you can comment it down below, or shoot me a message on Twitter or Instagram, both of which are maximum1hr_YT. But otherwise, be sure to, do all the things, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.